why you would not want to be near a Stargate. I have to preface this video by stating that wormholes aren't real. They are theoretical. And these wormholes are microscopic on the quantum level, too small for even atoms to fit through. Creating wormholes large enough for a person to walk through would require all the energy in the universe. So it's a bit expensive to do. That said, let's entertain the use of cheap, easy-to-open sci-fi portals.
Welcome, future shoppers. All stores owned by Global Tech Corp are now connected. You can shop in any of our malls in any city, any planet. Starting today, you can take a trip anywhere in our empire of stores for the hottest retail experience. Instantaneous intercity travel via portal. Our lucky first shopper, Sarah, in sunny Denver, is craving that classic Macy's experience in New York City. In New York, Pamela is ready to head to Denver to shop and meet family for her lunch hour.
Little do Sarah and Pamela know, their shortcut is about to become a high-pressure nightmare. Stepping through a portal should be as easy as walking through a doorway, right? Wrong. What Sarah and everyone around her have failed to consider is the invisible force of atmospheric pressure. Denver, the mile-high city, has a significantly lower average air pressure, around 850 hectopascals, compared to New York City, near sea level, where the pressure hovers around a much denser 1,015 hectopascals. That's like the difference between a gently inflated tire and one pumped-up rock solid. At sea level, the weight of the entire column of air above you, extending to the top of Earth's atmosphere, presses down on each square inch with a force of approximately 14.7 pounds. This is the standard atmospheric pressure. You don't feel that 14.7 pounds because it's evenly distributed. However, if you localize an increase in air pressure, you can feel it prominently. It can even hurt. In Denver, you are at a higher elevation than sea level, about a mile higher. As altitude increases, there is naturally less air above you. Therefore, the weight of the air column pressing down on each square inch is less, resulting in a lower atmospheric pressure than at sea level. In Denver, the air presses down on you at about 12 pounds per square inch. The air there is called thin because there is less pressure, and some people, especially visiting sports teams, have a hard time adjusting to this. Famously, pundits in their analysis believe President Obama, who was a smoker, was fatigued there when he debated Mitt Romney. Romney resides in Holiday, Utah, 4,500 feet, 1,361 meters, above sea level, almost 1 mile up, like Denver. Romney lives day to day in 850 to 870 hectopascals. So he was right at home. Back to Sarah. The moment that portal opens, all hell breaks loose. Imagine puncturing that tightly inflated balloon. The higher pressure air in New York, finding an escape route to the lower pressure in Denver, unleashes its fury. What Sarah experiences isn't a gentle breeze, it's a localized gale, escalating rapidly towards hurricane force, potentially reaching hundreds of miles per hour. She is blown away from the portal. Pamela is sucked through along with debris from New York and collides with Sarah. It would be loud. When you pop a balloon, the rubber breaking is the least of what you hear. The main sound of the pop comes from the rapidly expanding air. This will be like thousands of constant balloons. It would be a roar. The air is desperate to equalize, creating a vacuum-like suction on the New York side. On the Denver side, you have a powerful, unyielding blast of air. And the chaos isn't confined to the immediate vicinity of the portal. The sudden influx of high-pressure air into the Denver Mall creates a shockwave. Windows and doors all over the mall buckle and explode outwards, unable to withstand the rapid increase in pressure. When enough doors pop open, the shattering stops, but the wind doesn't. Simultaneously, in New York, the sudden drop in pressure near the portal causes windows to implode inwards. Pamela feels like the wind is being stolen from her lungs, and she can barely get away from the vortex before it sucks her in. Yet just a block away in both cities, the vastness of the atmosphere dampens and absorbs these localized pressure changes. People a block away won't know that anything is going on, though it's possible the weather will change if this goes on for too long. A perpetual low-pressure zone in New York might cause rain, and the opposite in Denver, even though moist air starts to be blown to Denver. This isn't a passing storm. It's a man-made atmospheric engine, a self-sustaining siphon created by our portal technology. As long as this connection between two different atmospheric pressures remains open, the wind will continue to howl indefinitely. It won't abate, powered by the very structure of our planet's atmosphere. Does this mean we can't use portals? Not at all. Now, let's imagine a future where we've learned from potential disasters. Sarah is still heading to Macy's in New York, but this time, the portal is equipped with a crucial safety feature: airlocks on both sides. Not even space-worthy airlocks. They will only have to withstand pressures less than 1 atmosphere. Ideally, passengers on both sides will enter the airlocks, and the pressure on both sides will be slowly and comfortably averaged. The passengers will swap sides, and then the pressure will be slowly and safely normalized locally. There will likely be some discomfort. There might even be a store within the airlock, allowing you to quickly make a purchase of sale items on the other side's half-pressurized airlock without fully pressurizing. Then, you could get back to your side and repressurize to home standards without fully enduring the other city's pressure. People who intend to move on through to the other side wouldn't like this delay, so they would have separate sideline airlocks that immediately start completely equalizing. Working as a sales associate within the airlock would be stressful and even hazardous if it's done all day. Perhaps this is better suited for androids or self-checkout. With the addition of the airlock, the trip will cease to be instantaneous. There will be a wait of minutes, which some people will want to skip past. Safety measures and the fact that air pressure will seal the doors will prevent cheating. There will still be some discomfort and health concerns regarding the sudden change in air pressure. Airlocks would be absolutely essential for any portal technology, not just for intercity travel with altitude differences, but for any connection between disparate environments like planets or especially outer space. But let's say the portal was a smart portal. It has a force field covering that doesn't allow air to pass through, but it allows people and the air within their lungs through. Now you have instantaneous transport without a gale force wind. By the way, you might think that in the Star Trek universe, simply beaming people from New York to Denver would solve all this without the air following them. That's true, but in either case the instant change in pressure would be more than a shock. Beaming straight from Denver to New York would be a possibly damaging shock. Ear problems or barotrauma would cause pain in the ears. The most immediate and noticeable effect would be the pressure in the middle ear, which would suddenly be much higher than the external pressure in Denver. This would likely cause intense pain, a feeling of extreme fullness or pressure, possible rupture of the eardrum if the pressure difference is too great and cannot be quickly equalized through the eustachian tube. This could lead to temporary or even permanent hearing loss and dizziness or vertigo. Your lung tissue could be damaged, but this is less likely. The lungs are accustomed to pressure changes. We suck things and blow up balloons. But some people can't. They just can't. Lung damage is less probable unless the pressure difference was exceptionally extreme, and the body is in a condition where it couldn't react quickly enough to exhale. For instance, a person with active COVID or asthma or any bronchial inflammation. The risk would be higher for individuals with pre-existing lung conditions. People with certain types of glaucoma should consult their physician. People with high or low blood pressure, even if successfully managed, could find themselves out of sorts after a trip. Also, the longer Sarah stays in New York, the more nitrogen will dissolve in her blood and then bubble out when she returns to Denver. In general, it would be an overwhelming shock to the system. You might want to take a plane or a road trip to avoid all the trouble. Depending on your health, it could be deadly, especially if we change destinations. Let's look at the typical young, healthy person heading to Denver from New York. Pamela is leaving New York for Denver. She's been living under 14.7 pounds per square inch most of her life. She steps through the portal or is beamed by a transporter to Denver and drops instantly to 12 pounds per square inch, or even lower if it's raining in Denver. Well, now it's time to call the paramedics because of the potentially severe physiological shock due to the immediate drop in atmospheric pressure. Here's a breakdown of the effects. Joint pain, the bends. Muscle aches. fatigue, headache, dizziness and vertigo, numbness or tingling. In severe cases, paralysis, difficulty breathing, chest pain, stroke-like symptoms, and even death. The human body is relatively resilient to gradual changes in altitude. On a road trip, you would notice none of these symptoms. However, an instantaneous shift would be a different story. Even between locations at the same altitude, differences in atmospheric pressure caused by weather systems, like low and high pressure fronts, can create significant airflow through a portal. Let's say we have rain in New York, low pressure, and fair weather in Miami, relatively higher pressure. If a portal opened between New York City, experiencing rain, and thus likely a low pressure system, and Miami, experiencing fair weather, and thus likely relatively higher pressure, you would expect airflow from Miami to New York. Air would flow from the area of higher pressure Miami towards the area of lower pressure New York through the portal. This pressure difference would generate winds at the portal opening. The strength of these winds would depend on the magnitude of the pressure difference between the two cities at that moment. A significant low-pressure system in New York could create winds ranging from a noticeable breeze to potentially gale-force winds blowing towards New York. Therefore, any practical portal system would need to account for and mitigate these pressure differences, regardless of altitude, to ensure safe and stable transit. Airlocks or similar pressure regulation systems would be essential for portals connecting any two locations with potentially different weather conditions. On the Starship Enterprise, and for the Stargate SG-1 team, the atmospheric pressure at the destination could mean the difference between life and death, or very often the difference between being sidelined in the Enterprise's sickbay or having Dr. Fraser shine a pen light into your eye at the Stargate facility. I'd love to step through a portal and see the Grand Canyon, but I'd hop into a spacesuit first. After typing that, I just checked the elevation, and the Grand Canyon is a quarter-mile higher than Denver. Without knowing the atmospheric pressure of the destination, pressurized spacesuits should be standard gear, even for destinations on Earth. And now for the rapid-fire cutting room floor. These are thoughts that went through my head while writing this scenario. Leaving a portal open to space would eventually drain all the air from the Earth to the altitude of the portal. It would take time, years, but within days, it would be noticeable locally, statewide, and then region-wide as low pressure builds. But the people who would die first would be the people in Denver and other high-altitude populations. The air is already thin up there and would quickly become too thin for human habitation. Meteorologists would locate the portal, and power would be cut, or the portal would be destroyed. A portal carelessly left open between planets would slowly equalize atmospheres. This would usually not be a good thing, but a portal, high in Venus's atmosphere, above the high sulfur dioxide content, could send enough CO2 to Mars to provide radiation protection and make the planet easier to terraform. This would take years, but if portals were real, it could be easily done. Because of the lack of a magnetic field, Mars couldn't maintain the denser carbon dioxide atmosphere, but in human lifetimes, it's just fine. Programmable moving portals could be used as very effective drills. A portal drill could be used to drill through the 10 to 15 miles of ice on Europa to get to the liquid beneath. Of course, we might just be able to open the other end of the portal directly in the liquid. Portals can be used to very effectively irrigate the world, instantly moving raging waters that would otherwise cause damage, without loss from evaporation, to places they are needed. Ocean storm surges wouldn't be used for irrigation because of the salt water, but the portals can ship that water out to sea or to arid reservoirs for solar desalination. As far as freshwater floods go, people would actually be waiting for a good flood so that California or some desert across the world could be irrigated or its reservoirs filled. Many storm drains would simply and regularly portal water to California and Arizona and the Southwest. The best use of a portal as a weapon would be to open a portal in the upper atmosphere of a planet, or really anywhere on the planet, even underwater, and then open the other end of the portal in the plasma of their sun. This would unleash hell on the planet. If only a few 100,000 tons of sun plasma got through before the portal failed, the planet is doomed. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe.